Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli back out here in the shop with another great little secret trick to fishing a really simple lure. I don't know if you remember, but if you go back in the day, you'll remember an infomercial lure called the flying lure. The flying lure. They sold it in this kit. It sort of looked like a tube, a little squid looking bait. And it had a special hook you'd put in to make the lure fly backwards underneath a cover, underneath the docks and trees. And the lure would have this backward slide movement. The lure was kind of gimmicky. The name was gimmicky, but the concept of a lure moving backwards, gliding backwards underneath the stuff, and really that movement of a lure going backwards, like a fish that's hurt or like a crawfish. That concept was great. And the good news is you don't have to go to eBay and buy the flying lures. We can make a lure glide or fly backwards really simply. And I'm going to talk to you about a technique called the tail-weighted French fry. The tail-weighted French fry. Real simple technique. We're going to start with the bait. First thing is you want to use a French fry style lure. A lot of companies make them, including Berkley Power Bait. And this is a bait called a lugworm. Lugworm. It's 4 inches. A lot of great colors. I like to keep it simple for the most part. I like to use natural colors, green pumpkin, watermelon, black, shad colors. And occasionally, when the fish are around the spawn, I'll use shock colors like methylate or pink. But start with the bait. And when you look at a lugworm, it actually looks like a French fry. Looks like a French fry you'd get at McDonald's or Burger King or anything else. The main thing I want you to keep in mind is that when you select a French fry, it's okay for the top of it to have rings and ribs and be rounded. But I want you to select a French fry that has a flat bottom. That's so key. And look at that. This is the lugworm, and it has a completely flat bottom. That's an important part of the bait selection. Okay, so we've got our French fry. The next thing is the hook. The hook. And this is a really important part of making sure this lure glides backwards, flies backwards, slides backwards. And I want you to get a number 1, 1/0, or 2/0. And I like the 2/0 regular round bend extra wide gap hook. This is a regular round bend offset hook by VMC. The most important part, if you look at it, it's not a heavy gauge hook. It's either a regular wire or a light wire hook. And if you look at it, this is just a regular wire 2/0 round bend offset hook by VMC, okay? So don't go too heavy on the hook. 1/0, number 1, or a 2/0, and especially the 2/0, light wire or regular gauge offset hook, okay? Next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a standard Texas rig. The great thing about this tail-weighted French fry is it's going to be weedless, it's going to be snagless. We're going to be able to fish it under docks, under brush, under laydowns, overhanging trees, and it won't get snagged. On the lugworm, if you look at it, it's got a fat end and it has a skinny end. The skinny end has these little ribs. I want you to Texas rig it from the skinny end. But as you put that point in this bait, make sure that when you rig it, the flat side is going to be facing down, okay? So when I rig it, I want to put that flat side facing the hook. As I go in the skinny end of that lugworm, I'm going to go in about 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to push it out, and I'm going to do my standard Texas rig with this lugworm. And when you look at it, you notice that flat side is facing down. So the point of the hook is coming on the ribbed or rounded side, and the flat side is down. I'm going to do my normal Texas rig. I'm going to kind of push it in and work it in a little bit. Keep it nice and straight. Now this bait is Texas rigged. It's weedless. But we're not done yet. Now we're going to add the component to this bait to make it glide backwards, to make it slide or fly backwards. And we're going to use this real simple little piece of equipment called a nail. It's a nail. You can use a nail at any hardware store, or you can get an insert nail from Tackle Warehouse. This happens to be a VMC nail weight. It's in 1/8 of an ounce. It's a real good size to carry, because the neat thing about the VMC nail weights is that they're lead. Why would you want a lead nail weight versus a tungsten nail weight in a bait like a tail weighted French fry? One reason is because they're a lot cheaper. The other reason is I can modify these things on the fly. When I want a faster backward fall, I'll use a heavier nail. If I'm fishing in deeper water, I'll use a heavier nail up to 1/4 of an ounce. But the 1/8 ounce is great because I can modify it. And if I want a slower fall and I'm fishing in moderate to shallow water, I can literally just cut the nail just with my Gerber cutter. So a lot of times on that 1/8 ounce, I'll take off 1 or 2 segments of the bait. Let's take off 2 on this one. And it just cuts. So now I've got about half the weight, probably down to about a 1/16 of an ounce. And here's the critical part of making this really simple, just Texas rig French fry, a tail weighted French fry. You see that we rigged it skinny end first, so now we have this fat end, flat side down. We're going to get this nail. I wet it just a little bit, and I insert it straight as I can. Just get it started. There it goes, gone into the French fry. And I just want to keep that bait nice and straight as I push that nail weight in, and it almost totally disappears. Look at that, okay? So now we have about a 1/16 of an ounce weight with that 2-aught VMC round bend offset hook, light wire or medium wire. And you know, line is real important on this as well. On this tail weighted French fry, I want you to either throw it with straight fluorocarbon, 6 to 10 pound tests, or light braid to a really long fluorocarbon leader of the same thing, 6 to 10 pound tests. Because fluorocarbon is going to let this bait glide backwards on the fall. One of the most important things to keep in mind when you fish this bait is when you cast it under that tree or that dock or that overhang or that undercut bank, letting it fall on a semi-slack line is the most important thing. So make that cast. Don't click your bail right over and let it fall on a tight line, because when you let it fall on a tight line, it'll want to pull away unnaturally. The other thing you don't want to do is you don't want to make that cast and open your bail and just let too much slack there, because you're going to have a bite and you're not going to realize it. So let it fall on a semi-slack line. And all I mean by that, a semi-slack line, is as it falls, keep a slight bow in the line and watch it as it falls. You can use your body and your rod to lean to the bait to keep a little bow of slack in there, and that will let this bait fall naturally and glide backwards. Well, here's the grand finale. Easiest thing in the world, get yourself a French fry, you get yourself a 1 or 2-aught light wire or medium gauge hook, get yourself some nails, and you could even use the new skirted VMC insert weights if you want to add a little difference to it. This is a great new product as well. It still glides backwards, but gives it a little extra kind of puff as it falls and as it hits the bottom. And last but not least, let it fall on a semi-slack line. Let's take a look and watch that backward. Look at that. Look at that. Watch that backward movement. Instead of a straight fall, watch it. Look at that. Watch it slide and glide backwards. Look, 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 look. Look at that. So all of a sudden, oh my God, look at that. You can imagine this tank's only 10 inches deep, but you can already get the idea. Look at that, of how this thing is going to glide or slide backwards under docks, under brush, under overhangs, under trees. This thing's going to glide back naturally. Listen to me. You don't have to go to eBay and buy the original flying lure. Make your own. Get some French fries, get some nail weights, get a 1 or a 2-aught medium or light wire hook, put it on light fluorocarbon, let it fall on semi-slack line, and you're going to have a lure that glides backwards, undercover, naturally, like a dying bait fish or a dying crawfish. Let me tell you, this is a killer technique, talking about the tail-weighted French fry out here in the shop.